Hail Michael Odinson. Hail Amanda Kay. Hail Brian Sharver. Hail Stephen Rankin Jr. Hail Michael Saunders. Hail brother, how you doing tonight? We'll give it here a minute or two and see if anybody comes up before we start. If not, we'll keep it moving. Hail Michael Saunders, good to see you again, brother. Hail Mike. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and get started, man. I ain't gonna wait around too long. Try to do a little video a little differently than I normally do tonight. I'd like to talk about Yggsdrasil and how it applies to us today and our growth and evolution today, or the lack of growth and evolution that we are experiencing today. It could count for either. The reason I started thinking about it like this was because I was trying to understand why tobacco free, buddy, tobacco free. No cigarette today, man. No cigarette today, brother. Anyway, I was trying to figure out when I was reading this myth, it took me a while to understand it. I kept reading it and reading it and reading it, and I was trying to figure out what sense it made. You know, like how it applied to me. You know, I didn't want to take what it meant to somebody else. You know, I wanted to figure out how I could use it. And it wasn't until I started reading about stuff that Yggsdrasil connects to that it made sense to me. So you're going to hear me say a couple things tonight, and I'm going to say that's a topic for another video because it's just too much to get into tonight. But I'm going to try to give out man, I hope you feel better, Mike. You know, may Thor be with you as you fight through and air heal you as you go. Hail Matt Sarver. Alright, so everybody knows what Yggsdrasil is. You know, it's the world tree. It's the axis of the universe, you know. Yggsdrasil phonetically could mean Odin's steed or Odin's gallows. Now, gallows back in the day was called, you know, the horse of the hanged. So it might not originally have meant Odin's steed or Wotan's steed. It could have meant Wotan's gallows, which translated into Wotan's horse of the hanged. So phonetically now it's agreed upon that Yggsdrasil is, you know, known as Odin's steed, Wotan's horse. Now within Yggsdrasil, it connects to the 9 worlds, and there's 3 levels of the 9 worlds. It could mean a lot of things, but to me, the 3 levels of the 9 worlds break down into the 3 levels of our consciousness within our mind. You know, you've got the consciousness of the gods, the superconscious awareness, the Wotanic consciousness, the Wotanic consciousness, the Odinic consciousness, whichever you would prefer to use. Then you've got your physical consciousness, what we see, touch, feel, hear, taste every day. This is what's around us, and then we've got our subliminal desires, our fears, our guilts, our hatreds, our jealousies. That would be Niflheim, the world of the dead, the cold. There's no growth there. It's just a waiting place. You're stagnant. And the reason that these roots mean so much to me is when I explain how I see Yggsdrasil, when I picture it, you'll understand. Hail, Chris Carrico. before I go into what I see Yggsdrasil, I'd like to name the 3 roots that go down, and every one of these roots go down to another level off of Yggsdrasil. The first root goes into a well named Yggsdrasil, and it's among the Aesir. This is where the gods and goddesses cross Bifrost to go to. This is where they get, the inspiration for their things, for their meetings. This is where they have their discussions at. This is among the Aesir. This is among the high level. This is among our superconscious awareness, if you will. The next root goes into Vergelmir, which is in Niflheim. It is where they say where all the waters flow from and where the serpent Nidhogg resides at. So you could take that as your subconscious desires. The third root goes into Mimisbrunner, which is in Jotunheim, and it's known as Mimir's Well. Reading the lore, this is where Wotan sacrificed his eye for wisdom at. Now, within Yggsdrasil, there's a bunch of creatures that feed off of it and reside here. I'm going to tell you, what their name and phonetically what they mean and what that means to me and how I take it. First and foremost, on the top of Yggsdrasil is an eagle. It's unnamed in the lore. And I'll tell you what I think that means in a minute. In between the eagle's eyes sits a hawk, and his name is Verthfulnir. Phonetically, Verthfulnir means storm pale, wind bleached, or wind witherer. These meanings to me, when I think of the hawk in between the eagle's eyes, sitting up on the top of the tree, symbolically to me, that is our eye of intuition, the all-knowing eye of Wotan. In the human body, the pineal gland. And the reason why I think they might have named it something like storm pale, or wind bleached, or wind withered, is because we don't have full access to it, or we're not accessing the full knowledge that we hold there. So it's withered, it's paled, it's bleached, it's not as shining as it could be, it's not as productive as it could be. That's just to me, like I said, this is something that all of us have to take in our meanings for ourselves. We don't have any dogmatic beliefs. Nobody's going to push anything on you. But to me, this is how I understand it. Okay, the next animal I'm going to talk about is Nidhogg. I'm sure everybody knows what Nidhogg is. Phonetically, it could be the terror or malice striker. Nidhogg is on the bottom of Yggsdrasil in the spring Vergelmir, gnawing on its roots. The funny thing about the word Nith, though, the N-I, D with the cross, whatever you call it, I'm not sure of the letter, I'm sorry, man. But, makes a TH sound, Nith. The funny thing about the word Nith was, during our ancestral times, the Viking Age and the Old Norse language, the word Nith was the explanation of a social stigma, like the loss of honor, or the status of a villain, or the status of an outcast. So they named this serpent Nidhogg, who gnawed on the corpses underneath Yggsdrasil. That kind of hit me hard when I tell you what I think it explains to me when we go to the next thing. Now, in between the serpent and the hawk that sits on the eagle's eyes is a squirrel. The name is Ratatosk. And this squirrel all day runs up and down, up and down, up and down, carrying insults in between Verthfulnir and Nidhogg the serpent. Insults, insults, insults all day long. Insults all day long. Ratatosk phonetically breaks down to boar tooth or drill tooth. The root words, the etymology of this word, rata, means traveler, and tosker, which means tusk. So it would be the traveling tusk. I'll go into what I think drill tooth could esoterically mean in a second. The next animals are the four stags. Dain, Dvalin, Dunir, and Durathror. Phonetically, they mean the dead one, the unconscious one, the thundering ear, and the thriving slumber. And I'll tell you what I believe these mean in a minute. Alright, symbolically, to me, Yggsdrasil, if I picture Yggsdrasil, big world tree, you've got your huge trunk, you've got your roots that spread out, and you've got your branches which go every which way. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tree and I'm going to flip it upside down so the branches are now pointing down and the roots are now pointing up. Symbolically to me, that explains our nervous system, which is the axis of our body. Everything connects to our nervous system, our actions, our thoughts, everything. You know, our senses, our consciousness, everything connects. The trunk is our spinal column, big, solid, up and down. The branches represent the afferent and efferent nerves in our body. If you don't know what those are, they make up a closed circuit. They make up a closed circuit in our peripheral nervous system. And what they do is, your afferent nerves send a thought action or an action thought out into your sensory nerves. And the efferent nerves act upon that. So it's closed in, the branches. The one thing I found funny was the roots, they go up into the brain. So if you look at this closed circuit all day long, it's going up and down. It's going up and down. The squirrel's going up and down Ratatosk, going up and down. It's making this loop. Now, what I believe Ratatosk is doing going up and down, bringing the messages in between Nithog, who is curled at the bottom, which I said before is our subliminal desires. Nithog symbolizes the primordial life energy stored at the base of our spine. That is what activates our senses and holds us back from higher evolution, from more conscious awareness. Instead of focusing on getting stronger, getting wiser, gaining knowledge, we're focused on our sexual desires, our egotistic desires, our materialistic desires, our human emotions, our greeds, our hates, our lusts. That takes us away from what we should be doing, which is trying to grow, trying to become stronger, trying to become wiser. Now, as I said again, Vertfolnir the hawk symbolizes our pineal gland, our all-seeing eye of Wotan, our all-seeing eye of Othin. So, the squirrel that is bringing these insults up and down Ratatosk is taking our greeds, our wants, our hates up into our pineal gland and distracting our mind from becoming more aware of the world around us, from becoming stronger people, from becoming stronger men and women. Now, the one thing that I've noticed was that all three of these roots go down into these separate springs, which are located in our various levels of consciousness. And at the well of Mimir and Velgamir, every day the three Norns come out and they take a bucket of water and they take it, water and mud, and they put it on the roots of the tree. They put it on the roots of the tree every day so it doesn't dry rot. What that means to me when you think of the Norns, which is, past, present, and future, is, we can never forget that. To be able to keep ourselves alive, to be able to not rot, what we have to do is learn from our past. We've got to remember our past. We've got to apply it to today, and we've got to plan to the future. If we skip just one of them, everything crashes. There's three Norns for a reason. There's three symbologies for a reason. You can never forget where you came from. You can never forget where you came from. A people who are not convinced of their uniqueness will perish. I mean, it's simple. If you forget where you come from, you have no idea where you're going. And if you don't take the lessons from the past and apply it to today, you have no future. If you continually do the same thing over and over, you'll never get anywhere. So thinking about this, it really goes to show that if you put the effort in and forcibly force yourself to win this argument with Ratatosk in your mind, if you forcibly send your desires, send your greeds, send your hates back down and not let it occupy your mind, we as a people can evolve. We as a people can continue this walk that we are on, continue this mission that we are on. We have to remember that, our walk is not for the lazy. Wotanism or Odinism is not for the weak. It's not for the mediocre. You must be strong. You must be disciplined. And you must actively battle yourself on a day-to-day basis to grow. Whether it's physically working out, you have to actively do it to get in better health. You can't sit around all day and get in better health. It doesn't work. You can't not read anything or not listen to anything and gain wisdom. You've got to pay attention. And I'm not talking about books or TV. You can't just go into nature and sit there and learn something. You've got to observe. You've got to physically, actively observe and tell yourself what it is you're trying to understand from this. It really hit me hard thinking about how we can use everything that our ancestors used as a way to explain our life today and how we can use it to grow today. For me, when I was reading this and I was trying to understand how it worked and what it could mean to me, I started reading it and I learned all kinds of things about the human nervous system that I've never known before. I never knew what efferent or afferent nerves were. And this is what our forefathers, our ancestors designed this for. This is why they wrote it this way. They wrote it this way so people of understanding could read it later on down the line and explain what's going on within them. They just didn't have the technology we did back then. They couldn't go see it. But they were smart enough to put it in a way that they could still learn from it and grow. So when I think of Yggsdrasil now, I don't picture a tree. That's not what I see in my mind. What I see now is me, a Wotanist, grounding my bad energy, all of my hate. I send it away. I send it through the roots and I send it back into the dirt. I get it out of here. Or I send it out of my hands. I get it up out of me. And I suck in the good. There's 3 levels of consciousness. And you're going to get stuck wherever you put yourself at. This is a fight that we're in every day. This is an everyday battle for us to grow stronger and better so we can pass this torch on to our descendants. We just have to really focus on this and actively try to better ourselves. We are on the path of the Übermensch, and we must get there. Thank y'all. A short one tonight. Have a good one.